Hello and welcome to the Players Championship Golf One and Done video brought to you by PoolGenius. My name is Steven Andress, joined each and every week on this show by the lead analyst over at PoolGenius, Jason Lisk. You can follow him on Twitter at Jason Lisk. In this week's episode, we're going 5 deep on the most popular players as projected by PoolGenius for the Players Championship. Since, you know, it is the 5th major, right? It's going to be major in March. Can't wait to see that promo 18 million times this week during the tournament. But we are also excited to look at the course preview at TPC Sawgrass and the legendary Island Green on number 17. We'll look at our top 3 plays and contenders for each of us, Jason and myself. We'll give you our favorite long shot this week, and then we'll end the episode with our favorite conviction play, because if you're in a golf one and done pool, this is the most important week of the year, the most projected money of any tournament on the PGA Tour schedule, majors included this week. So it's an important week for everybody. I can't wait to chop it up. First, a quick recap of last week. Major hat tip to you, Sir Jason, for going with Ludwig Oberg. He had a great week overall for a guy like me who didn't have a top 30. Matt Fitzpatrick was T41, only made 78 grand. I mean, if you look at what was happening here in the top 20, most of the guys that finished in the top 3, top 20, all guys that were less than 3% owned. So even if you had a bad week, you really weren't hurt by it.
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, not many people had the 2 that went to the playoff, Batia and Berger.
Yeah.
Oberg was probably the highest scoring guy that was over 1% owned, and Rick Rungood, and I think Morikawa was probably second. And then outside that, most people didn't make significant amount. So, I mean, the entries I had at Oberg, I did move up, and so that was a solid result, 1.2 million or so. But yeah, a lot of people, we're in the same boat we talked about last week. We've had 3 straight in these signature events, kind of low-owned winners, well under 1%. I mean, Batia was, I think, 0.4%. And all of them, Bridgman was very low-owned, even Morikawa was under 1. And so we're still at a point in a lot of pools where there
Wide
hasn't been
open.
that much of a separation yet, because
Yep.
we don't have like 10% of the pool has separated by hitting, a key winner yet. Maybe 1% has. And so you can still, I mean, we're going to talk about the Rick Run Good segment pool, which comes to an end this week, but a lot of people are live for that because there hasn't been a lot of separation where the leaders have kind of pulled away from everybody and are way out in front.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of put a bow on what happened last week, Colin Morikawa, with his 5th place finish at the Arnold Palmer, he earned $840,000 for your pools. He was the only player in the top 20 over 3% owned in that Rick Run Good pool at 16.2%. Literally everybody else. You mentioned Oberg. You had a great finish with Oberg. He was only 2.4% in that. So this thing is wide open still for the people that used Morikawa last week. Good finish. I think you might have been a week early. We'll get to that in a minute here, but let's move forward here with getting ready for TPC Sawgrass and the Players Championship. Before we do, we want to let everybody know, if at any point in this video you find the information useful, do us a small favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know in the comments who you're picking in your one and done pools for the Players Championship. That stuff really does help us. It will go a long way. Just as a small piece of gratitude, we thank you in advance for that. It does make a big difference. We also want to let you know about one of our show sponsors, Novig, a sports prediction market. We have a special offer to share with you. If you sign up using the promo code POOL, they've just upped this offer from previous weeks. You can spend 5 and get 50 in your account. So I don't know how long that's going to last. Now's the time to take advantage of it. That's the best offer I've ever seen from Novig to this point. So use that promo code POOL. Again, spend 5 and then get 50 added to your account there. So check that out. And Jason, I know you got a new product out over at PoolGenius as well for the people that may not be in season-long golf one and done pools, but might be in some of these other pools for just the Players Championship and major season. Tell us what you guys just rolled out here this week.
Yeah, I mean, we have our majors and masters product, which covers the 4 majors, but not only the 4 majors, the Players Championship. So if you happen to be in a pool, that not only includes the 4 majors, but also includes the Players, in addition to them. Or if you're just in a standalone Players Championship pool and they play with tiers or pick X number of golfers, because our one and done obviously supports, using a golfer once, one golfer per week. But this is more for like if you're picking several golfers. And so what we do, I'll pull it up real quick here just
Yeah,
to
let's
show the
do it.
people because they'll recognize it looks very similar to our. Now I've set up a pool. It looks very similar to our one and done products on the surface, right? We have our pool set up, and I went through and I set up some tiers. You can actually set up. You play in a pool with your buddies. They assign 8 golfers to tier 1, this many to tier 2. Whatever the setup is, you can set your customized tiers up. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you your tiers with the golfers separated, kind of like our data grid, but with very tier specific to your pool, letting you to focus in on which golfer you want to pick from that group of 8 or 10 or whatever the number is. So it's a good way to organize your picks, see the data, and see who we think has pick percentage in those kind of contests, because we also customize those pick estimates to whoever you tell us is in your group. So you're going to get a different estimate for Scotty depending on who's in the tier with him, and so on and so forth. So that's what our majors and masters does. It is available now for users for the Players Championship, and it will be fully available also for the Masters and beyond. So if you play in a pool that uses all the majors or that picks up at the Masters, keep that in mind as well.
For sure. And we'll put a link down in the description so you can check it out for yourself, check out the pricing for you. The fact that you have the customized tiers is great because when I'm on Splash, they're using certain rankings there. And then I'm in pools with my buddies and they're just going by straight official world golf rankings, which can be totally different now with how weird the OWGR is now in the era of live. So the customization is really solid there for those pools. It's going to help everybody make smarter decisions for those type of pools. So,
Yeah, we do try to preload once we get the splash tiers, once they set those, we do try to load those so you don't have to sit and manually enter each golfer type of head. It's a type of head feature, kind of like how you save your golfers in one and done on our product. But you don't have to do that if it's a certain pool, like a splash pool. It's the same format. You can just load that tier, and that way you don't have to take an extra 2 minutes to input each golfer.
love it. Okay, let's get to golf one and done for this week at the Players Championship. We will begin with our course preview of TPC Sawgrass. For golf one and done purposes, the most important thing to know is the purse. This is a $25 million purse. It is the largest purse of any event on the PGA Tour schedule. That includes the majors, even though the PGA Tour doesn't run those events. As of right now, as we record this on Monday morning, we have to project this as the biggest purse and the biggest prize to first place at $4.5 million. Is there a small chance that come tournament week for the Masters or the US Open, those event organizers have a bigger purse than this? Yes, but it hasn't happened in the past 2 years. So most of us in Golf One and Done are operating under the assumption that this $4.5 million prize will be the biggest of any event in Golf One and Done this season. We are at TPC Sawgrass and that famed Island Green at number 17, 7,352 yards. It is a par 72. There are 4 par 5s on this course. Still in Florida, still on those Bermuda greens. The defending champion is Rory McIlroy. The past winners, Scotty Scheffler back-to-back, Cam Smith, Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy. I'm stopping right there at 2019 because that is when the players moved from May to the month of March. So those have been the winners. What all those winners have in common? They've won major championships. So for whatever reasons, when this event is moved to March, you have to be an elite golfer who has won majors, who likes tough conditions to win this event. That's how it's played out so far. Cam Smith, when he won, hadn't won a major yet. But later that year, he went on to win the Open Championship, and he was in amazing form coming in to that Players Championship for that year. The weather is also very important to keep an eye on throughout this week. We are recording this video on Monday afternoon. This is a very early forecast, and we're in Florida. And if you've been to Florida at any point, you know rain can come and go, pop up, go away. It could come right at you, split into two like it did at one point during the Arnold Palmer last week and not rain at all on the golf course. So just keep an eye on this. It's an early forecast, but Possible thunderstorms are in the forecast for late Thursday and potentially Sunday as well. Winds are elevated. The early forecast says between 10 and 20 miles per hour. From what I saw, there is potentially a wave advantage for the early late guys. So the early Thursday tee times could have a wave advantage getting out there early before it starts getting windier. Maybe the storms come in on Thursday. If there's lightning, they're just going to stop play. But if the winds get higher on Thursday afternoon, it at least seems it's possible that you might want to look at some early guys, if maybe a tiebreaker, if you're between a couple guys and the other guys are in that late wave on Thursday. Also, if you're betting first round leader, I think the early wave guys are the way to go there for first round leader on Thursday. So here we go, Jason. Let's get into the 5 most popular picks for the 5th major. And at no surprise, as projected by PoolGenius, the best player in the world over the last few years, the favorite to win this event, Scottie Scheffler, with a $4.5 million prize on the line for first place, with a guy who won it back-to-back years over the past 3 years. 14% is the projected ownership for Scottie Scheffler. Are you pulling the trigger, or what is your reaction to that percentage of Scottie Scheffler based on what we've seen so far from him this year?
Yeah, that number would probably be higher if he had come in better form. Honestly, the biggest purse event, a 2-time winner. I don't know where to put it as a moving target. We're trying to project here. You would think that a fair amount of people will use them just because of the value. I think that part makes sense. But obviously, you'd like him to not be, he's coming off a 24th, and he hasn't looked good early in tournaments for pretty much all year, all calendar year, other than his only win this year. But other than that early win over the last several signature events, feels like he's playing catch up almost right away. And so that kind of scares you, but that should maybe hold ownership. But I don't think it's going to be low. Like, I don't think there's any chance it's low. And so, yeah, I'm tempted to want to wait with it if I had 1, 2, or 3 entries. I'll have a little Scotty this week because any big money event, I want to have some exposure because he can win at any time. And he is the biggest favorite, but you don't feel good about the way he's looked lately.
I mean, I would never even think about betting him at 4-1 odds right now, based on the form we've seen of him. I'm going to go back to what I've said before, but first, for the new viewers out there that might be watching this week with a big tournament week, some context. Jason is providing analysis and opinion from the perspective of playing in multiple golf one and done pools and how he wants to spread his exposure around. He's never going to put all his golf one and done picks on the same player. So remember that as you listen to him throughout the show. For me, I am a golf outright better. I've been betting guys to win tournaments for the past 5 years. I've been profitable every single year for the past 5 years. Just hit Ricky Castillo last week at the Puerto Rico Open. So I have knowledge of handicapping tournaments, but I am loving having Jason here with me to give me the game theory of pools and ownership and exposure. But I'm ultimately making a conviction pick at the end of each of these shows for my one pool, the biggest golf one and done pool in the country. So that is where we're coming from here when we're talking about these things. So for me, having one entry and only getting to use Scotty one time all year, I'm not using him this week. And I'll tell you why. If you look at what he's done on approach, his iron play, which is the foundation of golf handicapping, in my opinion, that is what's predictive week to week. And through the start of the season, he has more events with less than 1 stroke gain per round on approach than he had for the entire season last year. Something is off with his approach game. And if you dig a little bit deeper, if you look at his off the tee numbers, one of the golf modeling software providers that I use is Rabbit Hole. They give me a metric called left tendency. This is a course at TPC Sawgrass where you really cannot miss left. There's too many issues. There are penalty areas. There are water hazards. So missing left is a really bad thing at this course. Scotty's typically great no matter what, right? When he's been in form, he's the best player in the world. But for whatever reason, over the last 24 rounds, something's off there, not just with the irons, but with the left tendency as well. He's actually ranking outside the top 80 players here in this tournament. In other words, he's in the bottom half of this field in missing left off the tee for this tournament, which would be a very bad thing at TPC Sawgrass. So the driving accuracy numbers are down. If you look at last 24 rounds in terms of, this is another great metric over there, distance from the edge of the fairway. So when you miss the fairway, are you missing it by a little or are you missing it by a lot? And Scotty, when he misses the fairway so far this year, is actually missing it by a lot, bottom half of this field. So he's been getting away with a lot of good putting, ironically, because you remember when he, was barely losing events before he, broke through and went on a tear. It was the putting that was holding him back. His putting's actually really good right now. I heard another great comp from Pat Mayo the last couple of weeks saying this reminds him of when Jordan Spieth was racking up some wins with just some voodoo with short game and chipping and putting around the greens, and his irons were a little bit off. So this is not the same Scotty Scheffler that we've seen over the majority of weeks over the past couple of years. And it's not just the past 1 or 2 weeks. It's really been a decrease in iron play since the start of the season for every single week. He does not have one single week in the 2026 season, even including the Hero World Challenge down in the Bahamas. I mean, not one event where he gained more than a stroke on approach per round. So I have no reason to use him, Jason, this week. I have every reason to wait and see. My firm belief that he fixes it at some point. And every week that goes by that I don't use Scotty Scheffler, more and more people are going to use him in these golf one and done pools. By my quick math, I've already seen 2 events in the biggest pool where 10% have used him. By your projection, another 14% might use him. So we might have more than a quarter of the pool after this week that have not used him yet. And plenty of other events this year with $4 million or more on the line where I can still use Scotty, and even if he wins this week, still feel more confident that he's figured out the irons at this point. So that was a lot there, but just give me your quick reaction to my conclusion that I'm not using Scotty, even though it is the biggest prize in golf one and done this week.
No, that's I think there's a lot to think about there, because here's the thing. If he does turn it around, and we know he can, I mean, he could bury you in a pool if you don't have him, right? At 4.5, when nobody's hit a winner, that's going to separate people. But that being said, you got to take chances to win pools. You're playing against people. And I think if you're trying to find angles on Scotty, you probably want him, if he's not in form, you don't want to play him when he's probably still going to be 10% versus 20% if he was. You want to play him when he's 3% because nobody thinks he can win that tournament. He hasn't won in the past. And maybe, like the US Open, when we get all the live guys in, I'd be more like, that's still 4.2, 4.3 million last year.
Yep.
I'd be more willing to wait and see if he's ready to win on Father's Day by the summertime.
Oh, by the way,
probably less than 10% ownership by then because of, like you said, availability. And if he's still not in the best form, if he's not Scotty Scheffler 25 or 24, he's still Scotty Scheffler. He still can do it, and you may get good ownership then and get good leverage if he does hit.
Oh, by the way, the U.S. Open this year is his first shot at trying to, or maybe not the first shot, but the U.S. Open this year is a chance for Scotty Scheffler to win the career Grand Slam as well. Yes. So keep that in mind. Okay, number 2 on the popularity list for the Players' Championship is projected by PoolGenius. Collin Morikawa. You have him slightly behind Scotty Scheffler at 13%. He has been the bet of the week in the betting world. His number has steadily come down. I bet a futures on Morikawa at 32-1. Always felt he was a great fit on this course. He's modeling extremely well for me. And kind of my mixed conditions model, we're looking at a lot of different things that we talked about before with Scotty, distance from the edge of the fairway, hitting tee shots with high water danger, not missing left on this course. It went Scotty, Rory, Morikawa. So Morikawa's right there based on the recent form, and I don't see any reason why he's a fade this week. The popularity is high, and that's what we're going to have to consider with Morikawa.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if he actually ended up most popular in, like, Rick Run Good.
Wouldn't surprise me at all either. I agree.
It wouldn't surprise me because of what you laid out and people coming off, and not only 'cause you notice I'm projecting above Rory already. I think there will be a little hesitation on Rory after withdrawal. I think otherwise Rory would have probably been my most popular, projection, but I do anticipate a little market hesitation there, at least with enough people in one and done. It's gonna hold Rory closer to that 10% number and not get much higher, and I think Morikawa is gonna be the beneficiary of getting more picks as a result.
So I agree with you. And again, we're recording this on Monday afternoon. And I think there's a very good chance if we get good reports or Rory has this press conference this week or an interview somewhere and says, yeah, I'm totally fine. I feel great. It was more precautionary than anything. He didn't say in his statement, for what it's worth, that he pulled a muscle in his back or anything. He said back spasms, which can kind of come and go. So, but I was shocked to see that he's already up to 15 to 1 at one sports book. That would just that would have blown my mind a couple of weeks ago for him to be 15 to 1 at the Players, considering he's won here twice in March. And Scotty Scheffler's not in great form. So I actually think if you were just telling me to handicap the tournament, I actually, if healthy, would make Rory the favorite here. So, Jason, you're projecting Rory at 9%, tied with Ludwig Oberg for third here in terms of popularity. But I think if we get a good report on Rory, then this percentage probably goes up as well, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how it's trending. I think there's always some caution. Some people will just be like, "He just withdrew. I don't trust what's gonna come out." He's gonna try to play. He's gonna say good things.
Yeah.
But do you trust that it doesn't flare up again within a span of a week, right? Whatever caused him to have that reaction. Now, what we don't know is exactly how severe it was, like you said. Where was he on the leaderboard entering Saturday?
Yeah.
I know
So it's a
he
good point. I'm glad you brought this up. So it was Saturday. He was way behind. I think he was double digit strokes behind Berger. So this could have very easily been just like, I already got my guaranteed paycheck. I'm Rory McIlroy. I have a ton of money already. I'm not in contention. So let's just take it easy and get ready for next week where I'm the defending champion. I've won there twice. And let's see. So that's why I want to wait and see. Like there's a very good chance that this was extremely precautionary, not that big of a deal.
yeah, like
Um,
how they say he could have played through it if he had to, right? Like
maybe. We don't know.
we don't know
Or
that.
or if it's back spasms, like, I'm 39 years old. I'm already getting back spasms. Like, and 2 days later, I'm back on the golf course, you know? So,
I just to me that's what I call, oh, it's the sixth hole.
mhm.
There it is, flare up again.
Yeah,
Get
right
the
when
bush light, get the medication, the bush light out, and see if we can get through the round.
yeah, I shot 72 today. It just
Yeah,
happened to be on 14 holes.
that's
So,
right. Right.
so let's see about Rory, right? I think you all need to just monitor the news with him and see what's going on. If it's severe, he's just going to withdraw. That's the thing, right? And then probably if he does
Just hope
withdraw,
it's early. You just hope it's before Thursday's tee off and that your pool either lets you know or you could switch or you have an alternate. Some pools allow that alternate pick,
yeah.
uh, preset.
So mention Oberg.
Mhm.
He's in amazing form, multiple events in a row where he's gained in every category: off the tee, approach, around the green, putting. You used him last week in some of your pools. Um, I don't care that he missed a cut here last year. He was top 10 the year before that. He's just, when he's not in California, apparently, just one of the best players on the PGA Tour and one of the most well-rounded. And my God, I looked at his driving numbers from last week, elite in both distance and accuracy, which could be a huge weapon here with so much water on this course. If he's got short irons or if he's got wedges into these greens where a lot of guys are laying back because they're worried about the water, it's Oberg's another great candidate this week. I really do think so. So lastly, Siwoo Kim at 8%, Jason.
Yeah.
I mentioned him a couple weeks ago as a potential dark horse here.
Yep.
I can't go away from that now. I still think he's a dark horse, but 8% is interesting if he's gonna be down here. Um, Not in the top 4 in terms of popularity. mentioned Morikawa was 3rd in that mixed conditions model I did. Siwoo was 4th. And literally the only knock I have of him, the reason he rose that high is because I don't put much weight on putting at all. I literally put like 1% on putting just to see it, to see how a guy's doing with his putting on Bermuda. Siwoo can't putt anywhere, and it hasn't really changed. So I do think if the conditions are tougher, like if you look at the final scores of the Players Championship since it's moved to March, there are years where Scotty has won at 20 under when there's no wind on the course, and then there's other years where Rory's won at 12 under where it has been a little bit windy throughout the tournament and it makes it tougher conditions. So I think if it is windy this week and it's harder to score, well, then that's the condition Siwoo Kim needs to contend this week. Otherwise, I think this is still a course where you need to make enough birdies. And that's just hard for Siwoo to do with how broken his putting is still.
Yeah, I'm we can talk about Siwoo and my projection too. Like, I'm doing it based on he's been in great form, as you know. Like, this is why you target him. He's up to 7th in our overall golfer ratings for the year, or for overall last 150 rounds. So he's in the mix to be a guy now you want to use at a big event. He's got decent course history here. I know the win, like you said, came in May, but he's in good form. That he's been used in pools, so as a leverage play, he makes sense if you're playing a segment or somebody's used him and got a 3rd, or some of his good finishes early in the year. I don't think he'll get steamed up, but I think he's going to come in ahead of Xander. I think he's going to come in ahead of Fleetwood, who did not look good last week. So I think even though Fleetwood may have slightly lower odds in the betting market, I think Siwoo will be the choice between Xander, Fleetwood, and him. I think, and maybe Cam Young. And I think because of Cam Young's not played well here for 4 years in a row. And so I wonder if that'll scare some people off. I think Cam Young's probably a good pick. We'll get to him, but I think that will scare some people off. And so I see of that group, I think it's more likely that Siwoo draws more picks than any of the others. Not
Fair enough.
combined, but just as any individual head to head. Who do I think is more likely to get a few more picks? I think it's probably Siwoo Kim.
I mentioned in terms of the betting odds board, Morikawa has been the favorite of the sharps this week. He was available in the 30s last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, and now I'm seeing as short as 18 to 1 on Morikawa. Siwoo Kim is the other guy that's getting steamed. I mean, he was high 30s, close to 40 to 1 for a few weeks for this tournament, and now I'm seeing between 18 and 25 to 1, depending on where you look for betting odds. So there is definitely interest in Siwoo Kim this week. He is above Tommy Fleetwood in some of these sports books with early betting open here on Monday. So that's very interesting as well if that's going to translate to golf one and done in his popularity. So okay, let's pull up the data grid here, Jason, and we won't spend a ton of time on the betting favorites because we just talked about them, with such a big pool and such a lot of money on the line here with $4.5 million going to first. It's no surprise that some of the most popular picks are the favorites for this week. So Scotty's the favorite, Rory's second choice, Colin Morikawa's third choice, and then you can see everybody else at 22 to 1 or longer there. So let's if people want to go into the data grid and see those odds, they can. I think we should just move right along here to the top golfers by course history. Now, this is a week where I want to caveat that because a lot of players play in the Players every year. So there's some guys here like Danny Walker, who if you click on him, you're only going to see 4 rounds. So I filtered this a little bit just on my own. So the top golfers by course history with a minimum of 8 rounds played at TPC Sawgrass are Scotty Scheffler, then Hideki Matsuyama, and Tommy Fleetwood. So all these other guys you might see in between there don't have 8 minimum rounds at TPC Sawgrass.
Akshay played 2 years in a row, but missed the cut his first start and then had the 3rd place last year. So he's at 6 rounds. And
I'm gonna be honest with you, Akshay was. Go ahead.
No, you make your point because I think you're going to talk about maybe his putting, but we'll see.
Yeah, you and I think alike, sir. You and I think alike. So, Akshay was on my card for this week before he won at the Arnold Palmer, and then I dug a little bit more into just how he won at the API, and it was a lot of putting. It was like off the charts putting. Um, he lost on off the tee. He didn't even have one stroke gained on approach per round. To me, the API this year was the course got baked out and it became very random on the weekend. Nobody could hold greens on approach for that tournament. So Akshay just made putts and he wound up winning, and hats off to
Are
him.
we going to see I have a question for you. We're gonna get off topic slightly. Are
Yeah, it's
we
okay.
gonna see people start to really get on and critique Akshay and the anchoring that is a point of contention? If this were basketball, you'd be pointing out to the ref. You'd be like, "Hey, watch this guy. Watch this next putt," right? Because it sure seems like he's pushing the. And then when he goes out and has, like, some of the best putting performances we've seen and wins a tournament, you just wonder, if this were any other sport, the guys on the other side would be, like, working the refs right now.
So you think he is anchoring,
I mean,
or have you seen others
there's
saying it
shots
too?
that are very close. I mean, it's
Interesting. I
questionable,
hadn't looked
but
close enough. I'm gonna start looking now for sure.
yeah.
Um, I'll tell you this, I'm not betting him to win back to back,
Yeah.
but even though his ball striking wasn't as good this week, he's had really good ball striking weeks this year. So it's kind of ironic that he won last week and didn't win at Pebble Beach or didn't win at Phoenix, where his ball striking was amazing. That's golf sometimes. He actually gained across the board at Pebble Beach, finished T6. So I actually always thought he's a great fit for the Masters. So I moved my bet for this week on him, cashed it out,
I like
yeah,
that.
and put it to the Masters. And he's a lefty. Lefties do great at the Masters.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Weird just continually showed up and
But if he's anchoring, Augusta National is gonna let us know. That's for sure. I will say that though, buddy. So in terms of course history here, like he would have been a good fit for me this week, maybe as a dark horse for the players. I'm skipping him this week because he already won last week. He's peaked. He just won $4 million. So again, this is a big purse, but um, I'm anchored in ball striking, and he's regressed a little bit in that area from last week to the previous weeks before that. Hideki Matsuyama, if you look at strokes gained TPC Sawgrass over the years, he's amazing, right? He's sitting here number 2, minimum 8 rounds. He's been great, but I just have to go back to what my concern has been all year with Matsuyama, and it's just been a couple of things. Number 1, the accuracy off the tee. Has gotten a little bit better, but it's still not elite like you typically like to see for TPC Sawgrass. And now the approach game has regressed as well. This is back-to-back events where he has lost on approach at the Genesis and the Arnold Palmer versus just the lights out iron play we saw at Phoenix, for example, at the WM Phoenix Open. So those two things put together has me off Matsuyama this week. And he's also on the wrong side of the wave for Thursday from what I saw with the tee times that came out. So he's got a late tee time on Thursday, which I'm trying to stay away from if I can this week, other than the futures I've already bet. So kind of off Hideki for that reason. Don't know if you have a strong opinion there.
no, I think that, I mean, what you laid out, we've been talking about. He's definitely going to, I think, draw some interest here and draw some popularity. So, I mean, I was a complete fade of him. I think at the most, I mean, I don't think I've had him in any of the most recent signature events since Phoenix, and it hasn't really cost me yet. So, probably let that ride.
I have a spot where I'm thinking about maybe using Matsuyama if he gets back in form, right?
Yeah.
It's the Masters, where him off his scatter off the tee isn't going to matter as much because those are some of the widest fairways of any course on the tour all year. So, and he's won at the Masters before. So, keeping an eye out for maybe Hideki as a dark horse at the Masters. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
just pulled up because you mentioned the tee times. I didn't know they were out. I guess they were released here in the last hour. So I
Yes,
was
sir, they
seeing
were.
yep. So just trying to look. So check. I won't bore you with the full list, but
Scotty has an early tee time.
PGA Tour Communications on X will have it.
Yep.
Other sites will have it up by now. By the time you're watching this, you'll be able to look at who is in that morning wave.
The notable names I'll just mention in the morning wave: Scotty Scheffler, and then there's an awesome group that's surely going to be featured on the ESPN Plus coverage. Colin Morikawa, Ludwig Oberg, and Siwoo Kim are in the same group on
Okay,
Thursday
so
morning.
we just isolated the guys we want to pick from, and you said you like the morning wave, and now they're in it.
Yep.
So Okay.
So, and then the afternoon wave, Cam Young's in the afternoon wave. Xander and Rory and Hideki are in the afternoon wave. Chris Gotterup, Minwoo
Sure.
Lee are in the afternoon wave. So it's again early forecasts. Let's just see. But be sure to check that forecast closer to Thursday, Thursday locks. So okay. Tommy Fleetwood's the other guy here in terms of course history. Minimum 8 rounds. He was number 3. Minimum 8 rounds. Same issue I have with Hideki. His irons have cooled off. Like, he has not been as consistent as we typically like to see with Tommy Fleetwood. His approach play last 2 weeks lost to the field in both events, which is very unlike Tommy Fleetwood. So, and this is not the course to get right with your irons, and just all of a sudden peak and win. So, I would like to see Tommy Fleetwood get back into a little bit better form here, especially considering this is a guy who has never won a major, and the winners since this has gone to March are all major champions. And the only event he's won on U.S. soil was the 30-man field for the Tour Championship. So I'm off Tommy Fleetwood, Jason.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking on here, by the way. Tom Hoagie, third place in 2 of the last 3 years. The year he didn't, it was Harmon. Who's this year's Hoagie Harmon Memorial dude that jumps up and finishes top 3 this year? We'll get to your long shots. I'll let you save that. Probably
No,
for
I like it. It's there are certain guys here that just like live near this course and play it all the time. Hoagie's one of them. He has the course record at this event. I think he shot a 62, maybe a 61. Um, so there are some guys there for sure. We're going to talk about that in long shots, but this is a good week to maybe, spread around a couple of top 20s here. I'm not saying use them in one and dones, but to your point, you are maybe looking for that segment win and maybe finding a guy who's not picked by anybody else. I have a couple of different long shots for you to talk about this week, when we get down there. So let's go to recent form, Jason.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Colin Morikawa, no surprise, talked about how popular he's going to be, and for good reason. I do think it's justified. Mentioned he was third in my modeling for this week with the mixed conditions. He doesn't model as well when I do last 50 rounds for obvious reasons. He was in a slump for 2 years. So, I don't care as much about that. This is a guy who's won multiple majors. He's won multiple signature events throughout his career. So this is justified, in my opinion, for him to be one of the most popular, moving up to the third favorite on the odds board. And his recent form is a big reason for that. Akshay Bhatia, we've already talked about. Rory McIlroy is number 3. His ball striking has been phenomenal, Rory, for the most part to start the year. It goes back to when he played in Europe in the swing season, and in the Middle East as well, and Dubai and whatnot. So I'll just summarize Rory with this. If indications are he's healthy, that's who I would pick this week in one and done, because the weather is also a factor in this. I know he's on the wrong side of the wave advantage, but like Rory won in conditions like this his entire life. He's from Northern Ireland. He knows how to, choke down on a bigger iron and not try to muscle something into wind. So he's a fantastic wind player. He won Pebble Beach in those type of conditions last year. So if indications are he's healthy, I would use Rory this week and not think anything about it and hope he's not the most popular. So we just got to wait on reports on him. That we don't have that right now as we record this on Monday afternoon. I don't know if you feel as strongly about Rory or if you're going to go lower popularity hunting, Jason.
I mean, yeah, it depends on the entry, and if it not the one with the segment interest, but probably for full season,
Yeah.
definitely will be looking. Now, one guy we haven't talked about yet. There's a couple guys on here. Jake Knapp withdrew. So as you can see, he hasn't played in the last 2 weeks, but that's because he withdrew right before the Arnold. In fact, people had used him in one and done. The withdrawal didn't come out till the tournament had started.
Yeah,
Means
brutal.
a lot of one and dones had locked, but he did withdraw before his tee time. Ao Tong Lee jumped into that spot, was able to get in the tournament, but too late if you didn't have a pool that allowed you to swap an alternate in, because we didn't know until, the morning was underway. Undisclosed illness is how they described it. I think Knapp would have been on my short list of guys to consider at lower ownership here. Recent form, played well here last year, can hit it if he's driving well. But when I hear undisclosed illness, that does concern me. We saw Oberg struggle with that for a few weeks. What condition is he gonna be in? We don't know, I think. So that puts some doubt here, but Napa's been hot, up until that point. And then the other guy, it's also weird to see Scheffler not in the top 5 in this category at any point
Yeah.
because he's down there around 9th, so he's still hanging on, but that's a lower number than we're used to seeing on Scotty. But you
Yeah.
had your guy, Ricky Castillo, who got the win, and you nailed that last week. So congratulations if you played that Puerto Rico Open one and done.
Yes,
Everybody
sir.
that listened. And then we see Adam Scott, and then my guy Oberg and Cam Young are coming in here at the top of the list. So decent form up top. Colin is definitely leading the way, and Rory is playing solidly last week, even before he withdrew. So yeah, he's on the list. If we get an all clear on Rory, I think he's got to be like the top, along with Morikawa, the top higher owned guy to consider.
I agree. All right, before we get into our top 3, our favorite long shot and our conviction picks, it is March. That means college basketball. That means brackets. Jason, we talked about it last week. For those that didn't hear it, let the people know what is coming from PoolGenius for college basketball and bracket season, the foundation of PoolGenius, the genesis of PoolGenius when you guys all started out.
Yeah, I mean, we've got our selection Sunday is corresponding. It'll be the players' final round. They'll be finishing up as we find out the brackets. We'll be working nonstop. I'll probably work all night, Saturday and Sunday. I am researching the teams now. We have bracket simulations. We have a bracket product. You tell us your rules. You tell us how big it is. We give you our customized pick advice for your bracket, customize your rule, do a lot of research behind the scenes. That's what I'm working on. I was handicapping all the tournaments today for this week in the conference tournaments because that carries forward. I mean, I get my assessment of the teams. Do they match my assessment as they go through conference tourney week? Last year, Florida, I had them as the best team in the SEC. They were not priced that way. I hit that future. The problem is the cat was out of the bag by selection Sunday, and everybody was on board Florida as the national champ. And they, along with Duke, were the two of the chalkiest picks out there. And then they won the title. But yeah, the week before I had Florida. People were talking Auburn. They were talking this. I said Florida's the best team in the SEC since December. So that's kind of research I'm doing. Who are my sleepers? UCLA might be one, by the way. So check in, not to win a national title, but a team out of that 7, 8, 9, 10 range. I think UCLA looks more like they could be a top 20 type team like they were expected to be in the preseason. Now that they have all their key players back together, they have been rolling. So that's just a little piece.
Yeah, and I want to give my testimonial to your bracket products as well, because I've used them in the past and I think they're fantastic. So anybody that tells you that they're going to guarantee that they're gonna help you win your pool, like, run the other direction. That's not a thing. That is kind of slimy marketing for anybody that's talking with that much definitive conviction. What Jason and his products do, they help you make better decisions with your brackets, and they increase your margin for error when it comes to getting through your bracket to hopefully have a sweat when it comes to the final 4. I'll give a perfect example of that. So, there was a recent year when I filled out a bracket and I used Jason's tools over at PoolGenius, and by the time the Elite 8 came around and the Final 4 came around, I was only in, like, 50th place out of 300 people. But because I used Jason and his team's projections on popularity to help figure out, okay, who's going to give me the biggest opportunity to move up to the top of my standings once we get to the Final 4, where it's, 5, 6, 10 times the points in your pools for those situations, you can still make up that ground if you avoid the most popular teams in the bracket that year, and they can give you leverage in a 50-50 game, maybe, or a game that's only a 2 or 3 point spread. You get that leverage. Jason and his team helps find that information for you. So even if you don't go into the Final 4 in the top 3 in your pool, you are still very live to maybe cash or even take down the whole pool because you're making smarter decisions based on leverage and popularity. So hat
Yeah.
tip to you and your team on that, Jason.
Well, I appreciate it. Definitely doesn't all work out. We remember Auburn from 2 years ago. They cost me a few brackets. Chad Baker Mazzara, now in the news again for those, got kicked out of that Yale game. That was fun. But, you know, like you said, we give customized advice to your specific pool. It's not like we told everybody to pick UConn to win the national championship the year they were the 4 seed and the Final Four got blown up and it was a 9 and 2 5s in UConn. Uh, but we did tell 15% of our subscribers based on their pool size and their scoring rules, 15% of them got UConn. The public picked UConn at 2%. And so they were our best team besides the top couple seeds, besides the top favorites. UConn was our leverage play, and we recommend them a lot in larger pools. And so even in that case, it wasn't the small pools and the conservative picks that won that year. It was the 4 seed winning the national title. You didn't have to even get the rest of the Final Four right in a crazy year. You just had to have UConn, and if you did, you cashed. And so those are the kind of things that we try to work on. We also have survivor pools. We're going to have upgraded tools this year for that. So if you are in NCAA survivor pools, we will have that. Check that out, and I'll be doing lots of content. My fake bracket reveal came out yesterday. Go check it out. Talk through who I project. Usually I'm going to be pretty accurate with just 1 week to go. Last year, only 3 teams where I was 1 seed line off. One was your Louisville Cardinals there, but everybody thought they got a little underseeded. But yeah, my bracket 1 week out was within a seed line and directly on seed line from most teams with 1 week to play. So check that out.
Joe Lodardi's been around forever.
Yep.
Jason's got the fresh takes. Jason's got the bracket.
Well, I mean, I've been on the bracket matrix for over a decade. I've been doing brackets since high school. But yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly, you know, my kids call me Onk, so I'm not exactly young, but
all right, I love it, man. I can't wait. And literally the 2 best times of year to subscribe to PoolGenius: before NFL season and right now before the players in March Madness. It's the best time to do it. So be sure to go check out the products for that.
I guess we should tell people this. Next week, Steven's doing it solo because I'm going to be so busy on Tuesday, coming off Selection Sunday and it being our busiest time, that I'm going to let Steven go solo on the Valspar. So you guys give him all the grief you want. He is driving the boat next week, and I will join you in 2 weeks. So good luck next week, and join Steven for the Valspar. I may send in my picks. I'll try to find time to email, but I will not be on the video. But yeah, Steven's got you next week. I'll be doing all the basketball stuff next week.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's get into our top 3 for the Players Championship. Jason's top 3, my top 3 for golf one and done pools. Jason, I'm going to go first this week, and I'm going to just reiterate it again. If we get good reporting on Rory McIlroy and this WD from Saturday at the API, it was just precautionary and he's totally fine. Rory's the pick this week.
Yep.
He not only is in amazing form, he's won here twice, Grand Slam winner. You have to be a major champion, it seems, since this tournament has moved to March to win this tournament. So if you have Rory available, this is the spot to use him, I think, especially when potentially, as Jason has pointed out in his projections, that Scotty might actually be more popular. Morikawa might be more popular as well. So this is a great spot for Rory if people are too afraid to use him, and we get good reporting on his back spasms that happened last week. So it's very possible that he was just out of contention, didn't feel like playing, and said, peace, I'll see you at Sawgrass. So we'll see about that. So keep that in mind. However, I have one entry. I already used Rory. So here's my top 3 for my actual entry, with the caveat that if you have Rory, just use him if we get good reporting. So, or if we don't get good reporting, then use this top 3. Collin Morikawa has to be top of the list. And it's not, in my opinion, Jace, you tell me if I'm wrong, it's not criminal ownership, right? Like if it sticks around this 15%, it seems that's not the worst thing in the world, right? Based on what you've seen in golf one and done pools in the past.
No, because if you think he's gonna, you gotta pick who you think can win it, right? Who can win it? Because if the guy that can win it is 10% plus owned, and he does win it, that's gonna be a huge differentiator. When we look back at the end of the year, if there's a 10% plus winner in this tournament, they're going to have a high win rate on cashing in pools, just from hitting the 4.5. So if you think that's your best choice, it would not scare me away. 30%, yeah, I'd probably want to fade with somebody I thought was close, but 10%, 15%, no, I'm not scared of that early. Now we'll talk about segment pools when I get to my picks, but I think that's different if you think you're in contention for a segment and you can win more money by being a little more unique. You maybe think about that, but if you're playing for the season long, I think you don't worry about a 15% number.
Okay, I love it. So if I had Rory, I'd use him. I think he should be the most popular if he's healthy. I think he's the best candidate. I don't have him. I might use Colin Morikawa. Next up on my list is Siwoo Kim. Kind of hinted at it for a couple of weeks here. I think his ball striking is in fantastic form. The first thing I care about when it comes to the players and Sawgrass is you gotta get it off the tee. You gotta avoid the water off the tee here. And I have every confidence that Siwoo is on a very short list of the elite guys that will at least find the fairways here at Sawgrass and give us a chance before the ball is even ready and ready to go for the second shot. So he can't putt. He's a terrible putter. If the winds blow, it might not hurt him as much. It might be a lower scoring winner here. Maybe we get a 10 or 11 or 12 under par winner here, which would put Siwoo Kim in the mix. If it winds up being a 19, 20 under par winner, he's probably not going to win, but this is also an extremely volatile event. Guys win this, guys missed. Rory has won it and missed the cut. So this is the event where course history is maybe one of the least predictive all year. So because of that volatile nature, having a guy like Siwoo Kim with a high floor and such a big purse may be valuable to you if you think of it that way and in the way you want to choose your one and done guys. So mention the mixed conditions model I did. A lot of it was last 24 rounds and looking at water hazards and how far you're missing fairways. It went Scotty, Rory, Morikawa, Siwoo. So those are the top four. So Siwoo makes a lot of sense here. The third guy, I'm kind of going a little off the charts here. I can't use this guy either. I already used him. I had him at Phoenix. It's Chris Gotterup. And we talked about this a couple times, Jason. If it's going to be windy, you need to put Chris Gotterup on your short list because there's a lot of guys on this tour who are great players, and then it gets windy and they just melt. Like they don't know how to handle it. It's just not a good situation for them. Chris Gotterup is not that. It was windy in Hawaii. He won. It was windy at Pebble. He played fine. It was windy at the Open Championship and the Scottish Open last year. He had a T3 and he hoisted the Scottish Open trophy. So the wind looks up this week. And if that's the case, then Chris Gotterup has to be on my short list. He is still driving the ball and hitting his irons quite well. He gained across the board at the Arnold Palmer. I don't care about a bad Sunday for him. He was in contention at the Arnold Palmer and basically hit the eject button. That was a very, borderline unplayable course on Sunday. Nobody was able to hold greens with their iron shots whatsoever. So I would have no issue going right back to Gotterup. I already used him. I can't play him, but he would be kind of like the dark horse that I think has every chance to win this week, especially if it's going to be windy like the early forecast says, Jason. So that's my top three. I know you're looking kind of a little off the board here. Maybe some segment winners, some unique picks in your pools to take.
Yeah, but my top three would be very similar to yours. I mean, I don't want to over rehash it too much. You went through them. I would have a roughly similar order. I'm going to use some Scotty just because I have enough entries to sprinkle, and I will definitely use Rory. I would add Minwoo Lee as probably being a guy I might double up on just based on form and how he's looked over this year. As kind of a guy I don't think will have high ownership. He's not going to be like super unique though. He might be like 2%. He might want to be one of these 2 or 3% guys.
Yeah.
And so Minwoo's probably in the mix for me as a semi-contrarian play.
Model top 10 for me, by the way.
Yeah,
top 10 in my
have
model.
Siwoo in play and Morikawa and some Rory. So I agree with those. I'm not going to reveal my pick. We talked about it. The segment and Rick Run Good comes to an end. You've got an entry in the 140s. I'm in around 240 with my entry that had Oberg last week. That entry, by the way, had like 30,000 after the first 3 weeks and then hit Gotterup. So I've used Gotterup. I can't use him. and it had Oberg, and it had a Cam Young, I think, top 5. So it's gotten up there a little bit. It hasn't, and so as I sit here and think about it, I'm within 4 million of first. I'm within 3 million of second. It's 4.5 million. How much do I want to just play it conservatively and pick a good golfer in my top 5 that we talked about versus how much do I want to roll it on a guy I think sub 1% owned? Because I think that's what I got to do to have a chance to finish top 10. But then if I can hit a winner somehow, if I hit the next Akshay or Bridgman,
Jacob Bridgman, yeah.
right, then but it's a longer shot. So I'm thinking about it because as I look about it, I don't know. I don't want to commit because I don't want people copying me ahead of me in this pool, right? But I even think guys like Straka are going to be over 1%. So I'm trying to figure out where that cut line is, and I'm like, I might have to decide: do I want to dip down to like the Adam Scotts and the Bridgmans and that type, or do I just want to go with a good golfer? And that's the choice that I think you have to make in these segment pools. It's a tough one. Because of the nature of how we've started, the first place hasn't separated all that much yet. A lot of people, like there's probably like 400 like me, right, in this contest that could conceivably hit the winner. And if it's unique enough, shoot from 400 to top 10, just like that. And so that's in play. So it's something we all have to weigh. And I've got to weigh. I'm considering unique with that one and more chalky with my one that's actually more like 1,000. So it's not going to win the segment. And maybe if I go safe, good golfer, top 5 type golfer, then that one moves up past the other one. And that's fine too. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about playing this.
All right, let's get to our favorite long shots. Am I stealing your guy with Jake Knapp before I go first here?
No, I like Knapp. I mean, like I said, I was concerned about the just the illness and whether we.
But that wasn't your guy, right?
No.
All right. So let me make the case for Jake Knapp. So I want to move the goalpost a little bit for long shot this week. For this week, it just has to be a guy who's not top 10 on the odds board because this is an event where the class of the tour tends to win. So we talked about the past winners since the tournament moved to March. You don't want to go too crazy here in trying to find a winner. There are guys that can emerge into the top 5 here. Like I had Brian Harmon a couple of years ago at 100-1, and he was 1 putt away from winning it. So it's certainly possible. But if we're trying to have the ultimate ceiling of having a guy who you think still has some win equity here, Jake Knapp is very interesting to me. And if it was a WD because of an injury last week, no way I would be mentioning him right now. No way. Because it was an illness and he took the whole week off, that makes me more optimistic that he's a young guy. He can get well soon and be just fine for the following week and play well. So I'll at least caveat this pick with, like Rory McIlroy, check the reporting that's available, see if there's a clean bill of health, if he's back to his normal self out there. If so, Jake Knapp is a green light for me in terms of long shots here. He has been one of the best on tour in strokes gained total to start this year. If you look at his last 4 events, top 10 in every single one of them. 2 of those events, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am and the WM Phoenix Open, he's gaining across the board. He's not the old Jake Knapp where it's just bomb it as far as you can. Doesn't matter where it goes and you'll gouge it out of there. He does have accuracy with his driver now that we haven't seen so far in this career. And he has added career best approach play as well. 2 of his last 3 events, he gained more than a stroke on approach per round. The Genesis, he actually was closer to about 5 strokes gained total on approach for that event. So Jake Knapp, to me, he's still available at around 50-1 for the Players Championship. He is on my outright betting card for this week. And hopefully we just get that confirmation that it was just a minor illness and he's good to go for this week.
Sounds good. I like that pick. I don't even know who I don't want to reveal who I might take.
Yep, don't reveal your guy.
I mentioned Straka. I probably won't take him because I do think he'll be over 1%, but he won't be 2%, 3%. Straka would be on my short list of guys outside how you described to contend. But yeah, I think that's where I stand. And we are almost to an hour here, man. We've done it again. Any final words for our audience before they get you next week for the Valspar?
Now, my conviction play is the Colin Morikawa. It all lines up for that. And the most important thing to me is not popularity this week. It's getting $4.5 million. So I agree with you on that. I will go with Colin Morikawa and just hope that he's not 20% owned in my pool. How about you?
Yeah, it's more Morikawa or Siwoo for me.
Okay.
And I'll probably use them both equally on a fair number of entries.
And I'll just, for the third time, reiterate, even though Morikawa is my conviction play, if you have Rory available and he's getting a clean bill of health, that would be the guy for me. So just know that. All right, everybody. If it was helpful, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know in the comments who you are picking this week in your Players Championship Golf One and Done pools. Thank you so much for watching. For Jason Lisk, I'm Steven Andress. Best of luck with the Players Championship.